Get business done with the new American Express Graphite Business Cash Unlimited card. With unlimited 2% cash back on all eligible purchases, unlimited 5% cash back on flights and prepaid hotels booked through American Express Travel Online, and a flexible spending capacity that can grow with your business, you'll have the confidence to keep building. Apply today and earn a welcome offer of $1,500 cash back after you spend $50,000 in qualifying purchases on your new card within the first 6 months of card membership. Terms apply. Learn more at go.amex/graphite.
Hear that? That's now Crispy and McCrispy strips meeting Creamy Caesar sauce. Sounds extra crispy. Caesar sauce at McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. It's Jay Scott. It's The Hook Rocks, the ultimate rock community podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. We always do appreciate when you stop by. We are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, a great network of music-related podcasts, including the official Metallica podcast, the Metallica Report. There's over 100 different podcasts that are on Pantheon, something for everyone to enjoy. Everyone's music tastes are well represented. The Kiss podcast is one of my favorites. It's my friends, Tom and Zeus. So please check out that. You can follow them on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pantheon Pods. You can do the same with The Hook Rocks on all three of those platforms. Just search up The Hook Rocks. Please set your app to automatic download so you get the latest episode right to your phone. And you get to enjoy all the ones we previously have had. Some great guests on the show. We had Joe Satriani, Stephen Piercy, George Lynch. We had Don Jameson from That Rocks, formerly of That Metal Show, doing the Rock Fan 10 Commandments. So check that out. We updated you on this year's Stoner Rock and what we're anticipating with that genre of music. We also just interviewed Hannah Wicklund, great singer-songwriter, as well. The Starbenders, a great new band out of Georgia, and plenty more. So please check out all those episodes and more. And we've got another great episode for you today from one of my favorite bands, Black Label Society. Jeff Fabb is the drummer, and he's got a solo album out that came out in November of last year. He's got some new singles, including one that's dropping this Friday on March 8th. He's an amazing drummer. He's been in a couple bands previous to that, like In This Moment. We'd like to welcome Jeff aboard. What's happening, man? How are you?
What's happening? Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for doing this. Glad you could stop by.
Super stoked, man.
Well, we always start the same way every time we have a first-time guest, and that is the essence of our show. And just like every rock song has a hook that pulls you in, a rock fan has a moment, whether it's a song, a band, an album, or performance that hook them on rock and roll. What was it for you?
For me, well, it was funny because it was actually the variety shows when I was in school. All the older kids would have their bands play at the end of it, and I would go early, and I'd sit there and I would look at all the instruments set up, and I would just be like just in awe and mesmerized by it. And that was actually the beginning. And like there was all these drummers that were older than me that I idolized growing up and in high school, and that was it as far as being like totally just wanting to pursue music. And then of course it was videos, it was I remember seeing Mitch Mitchell and like on VH1 playing with Hendrix, and seeing The Who, and seeing all these videos. And then we also had these records in the house. We had Van Halen, AC/DC. We had Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. We had Black Sabbath. So these records for me were also the introduction. So it was like that whole time of the shows I was seeing, the drummers I would walk through the high school hallways, and these records I had at home, and then seeing these videos starting to come out were what really grabbed me. And that was like the most inspiring time in my life. It really was. It was awesome. And then also walking into music stores at the same time, walking into Long Island Drum Center as a kid in New York, and, Carmine Appice would be there, and, and Bobby Rondinelli, and like all of these cats that like were on these albums. And it was just, that whole time period for me was just such a inspiring time,
Where did it go? I mean, you mentioned Mitch Mitchell, you mentioned a couple other drummers too. Is there like, who do you consider your main influence in drumming?
Well, in the beginning, it was Bill Ward from Black Sabbath. It was Alex Van Halen. It was, then it went to, because I would watch The Muppet Show, and then I saw Buddy Rich on The Muppet Show, you know what I mean? And then it was like, oh man, this guy is ripping, and then then that kind of got me into jazz a little bit, which Mitch Mitchell kind of was jazzy too, you know what I mean? So was Bill Ward. So, I mean, and then from there it was Motley Crue, obviously it was Tommy Lee, and then from that it was Lars, Ulrich from Metallica, and then it was Dave Lombardo from Slayer, and then it was, it just kind of my drumming's like the range of drummers I was listening to was like all over the place. It was rock, metal, jazz. So it's hard to pin down one guy. Stuart Copeland. I love Stuart Copeland from the Police. Neil Peart. From Rush. I mean, it wasn't just one guy because there were so many great people at the time I was listening to. So I think it was just all those guys really that inspired me.
You mentioned a wide range of drummers with a lot of different styles. When you think about that tells me you're listening to a lot of different styles of music too as well.
Yeah, growing up, I listened to a lot of different, obviously rock and metal were huge in my life. But like I said, I was getting introduced to jazz and things like that. I loved Rush. So I remember bringing up to my uncle who played bass. He was like, oh, you like Rush? Oh, have you ever heard of Mahavishnu Orchestra? And I was like, who? And he was like, oh, you got to check out Mahavishnu Orchestra. So I got, turned on to Billy Cobham, from that. And then it got me into this whole, it just kind of went from there, and then listening to albums, I would just listening to albums and finding new players, that I loved. But yeah, I grew up listening to a lot of different styles of music. I loved funk and stuff. So I love Tower of Power. I love David Garibaldi. It was broad, man. It was a broad spectrum of drummers I was listening to. Definitely.
Yeah. The funk style has always been interesting, stuff like Parliament.
Oh man.
Is just, yeah. I mean, like talk about like really interesting concept of drumming with how funk relates to rock and everything like that. It's you can really go down a rabbit hole with that stuff.
Totally. And like to me, like when I listened to Sabbath, like Bill Ward was doing all of that. He was he was mixing the jazz with the funk, with the, you know, with the rock. Like, he was doing it back then, you know? So that's why my love for Sabbath is still so high, because they were, like, as far as I'm concerned, as a metal band, they were doing all of that, you know?
You did a lot of different instruments. In fact, you did all the instruments on your solo album and the stuff that you've been doing on the singles too as well. From drumming to the other instruments, when did that happen?
I always dabbled in guitar throughout my life. I didn't really know how to play that well, but I knew chords. I could kind of I could get through, like, you know, a 3-chord song or whatever. And then through the years, I just picked it up more. Playing in Black Label really helped with that, because those guys obviously are such great musicians. Everybody I played with is great musicians, but I learned a lot from them, especially JD, John DeServio, the bass player. He's just like a wealth of musical knowledge, that guy. And he went to music school too. He went to Berkeley. So I would just sit with him, you know, and he would be like, oh, do this and check out this chord. Well, now, you know, this major chord. Well, this is a major 7. And, you know, he just taught me so much. So when COVID hit and we were all home for so long, I ended up playing more guitar. And with that came, I was always kind of writing, you know, practicing writing. Probably started about 10 years before that. But I really just started recording myself, and I had Pro Tools and stuff. So I would just record and listen back and be like, oh, that sucks, you know, or, oh, I could do that better. And it just became like this kind of like songwriting, guitar playing, practicing sessions I would have. And, it basically started, like I said, when COVID hit. That's when I really started kind of recording myself more and more. I would go to other people's studios before that and record and stuff, but I didn't really have anything at home. So I didn't have that ability to be like, listen back right away and be like, oh, let me do that again, you know? And it just helps. It helps to record yourself and listen back. And it's like the best learning tool there is, you know? And that's where it began.
As far as the other instruments, you mentioned all the bands that you listen to with drumming and the drummers. Did you find yourself being influenced by those same bands on guitar?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely did. Because it's still like the genres of music I love everything about them, like all the instrumentation, you know, the bass playing and the guitar playing. And so I would say, yeah, definitely inspired me on all the instruments. Again, I can't say that I like sit down and ever go like, oh, I'm going to write a song like this. You know, I kind of just write, and those are the things that come out of me. And I think it's just from listening to who I listen to, you know, along with the older bands, obviously too, growing up, you know, when I first heard Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, like that, those bands to me were really, really inspiring as well, you know? So I feel like I have a lot, like a lot of people tell me, oh, well, I hear a lot of 90s, you know, kind of stuff in your songs. And, you know, that's probably why too. Again, I never sit down and say, oh, well, I'm going to write a song like Alice in Chains, or I'm going to write this in the vein of this. I just kind of write. But, yeah, I definitely feel like all the instrumentation and all of those genres I was influenced by. The drums, bass, guitar, singing, everything.
How did you get your break in the music? I mean, you mentioned, you know, listening to all this stuff, and what was the first moment where this became a career for you?
Well, I think I got to be honest with you. Like when I got my first drum kit, I was 11. Before that, I was going over to my friend's house that had drums, and I was playing on their drums, you know, all day long, or as much as I could. And at nighttime, I would put my Walkman on and like close my eyes and just envision myself on stage playing with whoever it was at the time, you know? I think I was like planning, like I was just envisioning this forever. But when I started playing in bands right about 7th grade, we had a band in high school, started playing those variety shows that I started seeing those those guys play at when I was a kid. We started playing them, and then kind of started playing fairs and things like that. Then I got into the Long Island hardcore scene, where we were doing a lot of basement shows. We were so young, we couldn't play in any clubs. So they would have like almost like, and there wasn't many clubs out here, to be totally honest with you, where we grew up. It was like VFW halls and things like that. So we would play like basement shows of kids' houses and these VFW halls. And that kind of stuff, that's what we were doing up until I pretty much graduated high school, you know? And then when I graduated, I ended up moving out to LA. And it was, to me, it was like, I say this too, it wasn't like, oh, I wanted to be a rock star, I'm moving to LA. It was like, I just want to play around more musicians, you know? I want to be around more musicians. And I ended up visiting there. My sister was living there. I visited her the year before I graduated. And then when I graduated, I think I hung out for a little bit, and then I moved. I moved to Los Angeles, and then I just started answering ads out of the Music Connection and playing in whatever band I could, which led me to meeting the members of In This Moment years later. And that's how, you know, we started grinding in that band. You know, we were doing everything on our own. We were touring on our own. We had our own van, trailer, everything. We were doing a circuit from LA to Texas. And we would just do that circuit all the time. And then like MySpace was starting then. So people found us, management found us through MySpace, because they had those three categories. It would be like unsigned, indie signed, and major signed. So people could look and be like, oh, look, this band In This Moment's kind of ranking up here with, I don't know, Disturbed and Shadows Fall or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, and then we kind of got noticed through that. And that's pretty much how it all began right there.
Wow. That's awesome.
MySpace. There was a lot more, and a lot more grinding, and a lot more playing in just bands to meet everyone. We finally all met each other. But yeah, that's pretty much in that band is where it all started to happen.
You mentioned like the rankings on MySpace and stuff. And now when you think of social media and the music industry, that's how the industry finds bands now, based on followers on social media. So, you know, it's no longer these A&R guys going out to a bar or a club to see a band. They search online for how many TikTok followers. And, you know, I don't know if I agree with that completely of how you find musicians and stuff, but that is really kind of the way of the world these days.
It seems to be. It definitely seems to be. And it almost seems like the new A&R guys are the playlist curators, you know?
Yeah, they are. More than you know. They are.
They are, man. They are. Yeah, times have changed. You know, it's definitely different now. It's a lot easier to put your own stuff out, which is cool. You know, I mean, anyone can get their songs on Spotify and do that. The thing is, though, is that now there's 100,000 uploads of new music a day. So there's just so much more. Yeah. And everybody's attention span is like nothing. So they're just flipping through things faster than ever. So It's definitely an interesting time, you know.
It is.
When I was growing up.
It is interesting because, it seems like, you know, the generation that you and I belong to have more of an appreciation of music because we had a tangible piece that we could hold, we can look at, and it could babysit us for days. You know, that's all we would listen to. We wouldn't buy, at least I don't remember, maybe once in a while I'd buy 2 or 3 at the same time, but it was like one record at a time, and then you go sit with it forever long, and then a month later you'd get, you know, another one. And I think it's disappointing for me to see the new generation not have that connection like we had. I think there's a connection there. I don't want to dismiss it, but it's just different. It doesn't have, like, you felt it, you needed it, and you lived it back then. Now it's point, click, download. If you don't like something within 30 seconds, you skip to the next song.
Yeah, and you don't have to buy the record, you know? You can just buy the song.
Yeah.
Like you said, you know, we would wait for an album to come out. I remember being online waiting for that album. And you'd go home and then, listen to the whole thing. And I mean, and especially with the vinyl, when I was growing up and the vinyl we had in the house, I mean, that was like a whole nother thing. I remember like Diver Down, we had that in our Van Halen Diver Down. We had that. That was one of the records. I remember playing that record and then staring at the picture of them on that stage playing in front of that stadium, which was the Rolling Stones. They were on tour with the Rolling Stones then. I mean, I didn't know that then.
Yeah.
And I just remember just like seeing all the amps and the people, and I was just like, I want to do that so bad. And that was like such a inspirational time for me. So I hear you, I mean, as far as I'm sure people get inspired however they get inspired, but that was the way that we got inspired back in the day, so I'm grateful for having that, those moments, of having that vinyl in front of me and the smell of the vinyl, the smell, it's like a book, when you open a book, it's just like that smell, that nostalgic smell.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a different time for sure. It definitely was.
That album cover, Diver Down, you can put that at the end of a room and you can identify that album cover.
Yeah.
100 feet away, just because of that red with that white slash going through it, that white stripe going through it. Because it was I remember just looking at it. I mean, think about it. It was like nothing. It's the diving flag, I think what it is. And yeah, but it was this red with this white, angling stripe on it.
Yep.
But you were like, this is so cool. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
In that picture on the back, like you said, it was something to see that stuff.
Totally, man. And then, then Blizzard of Oz, we had Blizzard of Oz, and then the cover of that, I saw that. I was like, what is this? Ozzy was with the cross and everything. It was just awesome. And then we had Sabbath, we had Paranoid, and, all that stuff. It was odd. I mean, I guess in a way, I don't want to say this because it almost felt like music was like a little more sacred then or something because of that, because we would listen to the whole album and we would look at the art. It was like a whole ritual, right? I mean, you'd look at the artwork, you would look at who was on the records, who would produce, you know what I mean? It was just a whole thing then.
My parents always knew where I was when I got a new record. I was in my room, laying on my bed, looking at the liner notes, the album cover. They didn't have to worry about me because I was just captivated by what I just bought an hour ago, and I was listening to it nonstop.
Totally. And then when I got into playing, I mean, that's why I love, like, for kids, like, even if you don't follow music, like, for a career, I feel like it's just such a good thing to do because, especially if you're not, like, into sports or doing, you're not in, like, any sort of group activities, it gives you that feeling of, like, you belong, and then you have something to do, and it just kind of keeps you out of trouble, and it's just, all around, it's just a good thing,
Yeah, and I see it with my son. I talk about my son a lot on this podcast. He's 19. He plays guitar. What's great for a parent is you hear them learning a song and screwing up and starting over again, screwing up and starting over again. Those are kids that you don't have to worry about because they understand that you got to work at it to become better at something. Those are the ones that you got to worry about. Like, a kid who's on a skateboard, right? Those kids fall, bruise themselves, get right back on that skateboard and try doing whatever they're trying to do again. They correlate that, into, hey, I got to work at something if I want to be great at it. I got to perfect my craft.
Right. Like it's not just going to happen overnight.
Right.
Even though I fell so much on a skateboard, I still have no patience. I'm still working on that.
So the music that you're putting out, the solo album released last year, the new singles we got a new single dropping on Friday, See No Evil.
Yeah.
What was the genesis for you to record this and make this album?
Well, the first one, like I said, that I released, that was Stealing Souls, and that was kind of a long time coming. That was a bunch of songs that I kind of had, on the back burner that I was finishing. And then I wrote a ton more though too. So not all of those made it, and so I released that November 30th, and we happen to have a lot of time off right now. So I just kept on writing. And then I got my buddy who I was in this moment with, Blake, because he's a great engineer, great producer, and guitar player. So I was just like, I had some songs already started. I was like, hey, buddy, I'm going to send you a tune. You want to check out a tune? He was like, yeah. I sent it to him, and then he sent it back to me. He had written, some parts over the top, and that became Hell in the Hallway. And that was it. So I was just like, dude, let's just do a record together. It's all, I've known him forever. We've been in a van together. We played in other things we played with James Durbin, that kid from American Idol, together for a minute. So it was just cool to like do something together again. So, and that's kind of what revived this whole thing of putting out these singles, because it was like, you know what? With like we were just talking about with the attention span of everybody, it was like, let's just put out a bunch of singles, like every 4 weeks we'll put out a single, and then we'll release a record. We'll put out like 4 or 5 singles or something into the summertime, and then we'll release a new record. And that's basically what we've been doing. So Hell in the Hallway was that first single. That was February 2nd. See No Evil will be this Friday, March 8th. And then the next one will be 4 weeks from then. And then the next one after that will be 4 weeks. I think that brings us into May. We'll be in the summer. So I don't know if maybe we'll release another single or two and then release the record, but then we'll plan on releasing the full record after that sometime. But I figured might as well just give singles out for a while and some videos, and do it that way for a minute.
Was this the perfect time for you to do it? I mean, you mentioned the pandemic and playing guitar and learning and getting more familiar with that instrument. And then obviously Zach's on tour with Pantera, and, Black Label Society is kind of on, I don't want to say hiatus. I don't think that's the right term, but just taking a break.
Yeah.
Right now.
Because we toured about 2 years or whatever on Doom Crew on that record. And then we finished up the cycle with Anthrax, and that was a while. That was a pretty lengthy tour. So, and again, yeah, we had time off, and I was just like, well, cool. Now is my time. I have time to, I could go go play with some people if I want, or I can. And actually, it wasn't even me thinking this, but now that I'm thinking out in hindsight, it was like I just put my time into working on some projects that I wanted to do. That I always wanted to kind of do. I was always like, I love creating and being creative, and I was just kind of on a roll and am on a roll still. So I'm just going with it while I have the time to do it.
As an artist, how do you know when you have to get something like this out of your system? How do you know when you've got to create and do something that you've always envisioned doing?
I think you just do it, right? Like it's just like getting the ball rolling is the main thing. And then after that, I think like the doing just becomes an everyday thing. It's just like, this is what you do and you love it. Right. So it's either, and then if you're getting to do what you love, you just do it without even thinking about it. And and obviously things get frustrating, so it's not like it's just all a cakewalk the whole time. But for the most part, it's what you love to do. So you're just doing it. That's how it is for me. I'll wake up in the morning and let me tell you something. This is not easy. Like this is like a full-time thing. Like writing, because I do the videos, I do everything. So, and then the promotion, and it's a lot. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's amazing. It's like when that release day comes and the song comes out and people like it. I mean, that's all I really care about. I'm not really doing it any other way for any other reason, but just to get some art out there and have some people listen to it, and hopefully they like it and they can get something out of it and get inspired by it. And that's all I really care about.
And what was it like for you being in control of everything?
Get business done with the new American Express Graphite Business Cash Unlimited card. With unlimited 2% cash back on all eligible purchases, unlimited 5% cash back on flights and prepaid hotels booked through American Express Travel Online, and a flexible spending capacity that can grow with your business, you'll have the confidence to keep building. Apply today and earn a welcome offer of $1,500 cash back after you spend $50,000 in qualifying purchases on your new card within the first 6 months of card membership. Terms apply. Learn more at go.amex/graphite.
Hear that? That's now Crispy and McCrispy strips meeting creamy Caesar sauce. Sounds extra crispy. Caesar sauce at McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
It was cool, but like I said, the first record I did pretty much all by myself. I had Dario play on a song. He played a solo on Rebellion Dogs, and then my buddy Brian that I grew up playing with, he played on You're Complete. He played some lines over the top of that, and that was pretty much it. So I played everything. So it was a lot. It was a lot, especially because I was playing like keys, and there was a lot of different instrumentation on it. So it was almost kind of nice to have another person involved this time, because you have that, because you can get in your own tunnel vision sometimes, right? And it's nice to have that other perspective to be like, you know what, why don't you try this? Or, hey, over here, why don't you do this or try that? It's nice. Both were cool. It was cool to have complete control over the whole thing. And then it was cool to have another perspective, because I feel like that's important sometimes. I think it can create a little bit more than what you would just do on your own.
As far as the music goes, from the album that you released last year to the single See No Evil, where has the evolution been for you?
I think it's just been in the writing. I think it's just slowly, because it was like, okay, well, and it wasn't, like I said, I never try to write something different. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm going to write something so different. It was just writing. Be like, oh, this is cool. And I kind of just go with the way that it's starting to go, A lot of the time, it's just me sitting down with a guitar and playing a riff, or playing some chords. And then I just go from there. And then I just start painting the picture, So, but there's definitely some sort of evolution going, but it's just happening. I'm not really trying to change anything. I'm just going with it. And it's just kind of ending up the way it's ending up. I'm stoked. It's interesting for me to see it unfold, to be totally honest with you,
Well, for you, from creating something, right, and starting this process to now releasing singles every 4 weeks, new singles out March 8th, See No Evil. It's almost like a mad scientist, right? I mean, you've got this idea. You are playing all the instruments, you're doing all the artwork, you're doing all the promotion. And it sounds like, and it doesn't sound like, it is a huge undertaking to do that. How do you not get overwhelmed with it? And how do you keep the creative juice flowing while you're doing all this?
I think I do get overwhelmed, but I think I just keep going. I guess is what I'm saying. I totally get overwhelmed. I try not to let that stop me, and I have to shed light on the fact that, all right, well, no, this is just my brain is just it's just going crazy right now. I need to realize that. Just keep going, follow through with the little things that you're doing. And then I try to do a little bit of this. Even though I'm doing a lot of promotion, even before I got on with you, I'm finishing up some songs that I'm gonna send to Blake. You know what I mean? I always try to have a little bit of everything going, And also when I write, sometimes if I'm on a roll, I just keep writing, because I know, like, oh, if I choose to do like a song every 4 weeks, I'm going to have to do videos. I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do that, promotion and all these things now that I know this, that I'm like, I'm so glad I have this stockpile of songs that aren't necessarily complete yet, but I can go back, and then start working on a little bit more. Now that we have like 4 songs ready to go, I can go back and doctor those up and change things that I want to change. And, because obviously I'm looking at them a little bit different. You take a break from things and you look at them a little bit different. So I guess basically I just try to prepare myself with the songs, because really that's what it boils down to, right? So I'm just making sure that I have a stockpile of songs and get them to a point where, you got a verse, chorus, and bridge, chorus, or whatever you got, you know what I mean? And get them to a structural point where they're not just like a riff over and over again and, you're not really going anywhere, but actually get them to some sort of structure, and then you can always go back to them. And that's pretty much how I stay or how I've been staying in this kind of systematic way, but I definitely can get overwhelmed. And I'm just trying to just stay focused and not let it get in my way, not let my thinking get me in the way. 'Cause really that's all it is. It's just your mind fucking with you. Right. So it's just, you got to just kind of realize, I think it's realizing that's all it is. You got this, you can do this. You can't just start, and you also can't start thinking about everything at once. You got to be like, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm focused on this. If I'm doing that, I'm focusing on that. That's basically, I think, how I get myself through it.
What came first with See No Evil? The riff, the melody, the lyrics?
The riff.
Is that how it mostly starts with your songs, is the riff?
I'll sit down, I'll have some coffee in the morning, I grab the guitar, and I just start hacking away, and then humming. I'll hum some melodies or whatever. I'll figure out where I'm going to go to next after that riff, and then it's just kind of that's how it begins for me. And then I don't even have the vocals really. I just have a hum going on. And then I'll go record the guitar track. I'll come down in the studio. I'll record the guitar, and probably maybe I don't even have the next part yet, but I'll record that part. And if I do have the next part, I'll kind of try to put it together just on guitar, at least verse, chorus, before I even change to a bridge or anything. Then I'll lay down some drums. I'll lay down a quick drum track just so I have some drums down. And then if I want to, I'll go back to the guitar. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to change this and then that. I get that stuff situated. I'll get some bass down, and then I'll start on the vocals. But the whole time that I'm tracking, I'm kind of humming in my head and stuff. So it kind of starts to give me ideas, even though I don't realize it, in my head about the vocals, as I'm working on these parts. And then that's how it starts, just like that.
Does the riff and the tone of the riff inspire the lyrics at all?
I'm sure it has something to do with it. Definitely. Gives it a vibe, for sure.
Where is this all going for you? I mean, the music is fantastic, and the singles are great, and this is something that is new for you, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
Where is this going to fit when other things start to pick back up again?
I'm going to keep it going, because I know, with Black Label, when we're working, but there's always going to be time off. So in that time off, I'm going to try to work, my own thing as much as I can. And that's pretty much my plan, Obviously, I love being in Black Label, so I love touring with the fellas, and they're my brothers, so I look forward to that, and I love playing drums. So, I'm looking forward to that, So you know what it is too? It kind of makes everything, I look forward to things a little more, right? Because it's I'm not playing drums all the time because I've been working on my stuff, So I'm excited to go play drums again. You know what I mean? And then when I'm out there touring, just playing drums all the time, I'm like, this is awesome, but I can't wait to go home and like sit in my studio and write songs. You know what I mean? So it's like, it keeps everything fresh, I think, for me.
Yeah, and it gives you different outlets too, right? I mean, you are a creative person and you need to get this out of your system too as well. So it's important for you, the health of your playing, the health of your creativity.
Totally. And it's just like inspiring too. I get inspired. I go out on tour. I see bands we're playing with or the fellas or something they're doing. It's inspiring. And, it all translates in the end, you know?
Well, Black Label shows are always great shows. I mean, every time you guys are in Chicago, I go see you. And it's
Love Chicago, man. Chicago.
It's an experience unlike any other with any other band. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's family.
It is.
It's family, and the fans are so great. I mean, the Black Label fans are amazing, and it's awesome to see them bring their kids, and then their kids bring their kids, and it's like it really is a cool thing.
Yeah, it's been years since I first saw Black Label, but one of the things that's always impressive is just the absolute energy created by the band that, again, is equaled by the crowd. You know, there's a great synergy between both, which is awesome. And it's hard. It's you don't see that as often as you used to see it.
Yeah, definitely there's a definite energy, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like playing a Black Label show for sure. It's amazing. So I remember the first time I ever played one, I was like, whoa, this is powerful, man. These fans are powerful. It was awesome.
That energy that is created, how do you get that energy when you're recording music, when you specifically are recording music?
I think it just comes from a different place. It just comes from being inspired in a different way. You know, it's like you're more like when you're writing a song, you're more inspired to and from the anticipation maybe of where it's going and like how it's unfolding. And that's where the energy comes from, I guess. Instead of like, a curtain opens and you see like thousands of Black Label fans with their hands in the air and they're giving you energy. You know what I mean? That's like a whole, that's like, and then you guys are like passing the energy back and forth. I mean, that's a whole nother kind of way, right? But I think, it's more like just kind of writing and being inspired and getting energy from that inspiration, and what can be, what's going to come of this. And wow, this sounds cool. I can't wait to see where this is going. And it's like, maybe that's where the energy comes from.
Because in the production process, there is something to be said about creating a atmosphere of energy, right? I mean, we talk a lot about the bands from the 70s who released those live albums. And one of the reasons why those live albums were so popular was it was able for the listener to hear the energy of their live show, because a lot of the production back then didn't capture it, right? So, when you're recording and you're having people come in and help you with things, are you aware of what the energy needs to be like when you're recording the music?
No. I'm not aware of it all. I'm just in the moment and I'm I'm just doing it. So that's why I was saying, I feel like it's just coming from the inspiration, the energy is just, and it's also coming from like listening back and being like, that's happening or that's not happening,
What makes you happiest with this album in this music?
Just hearing the finished product and just being like, yeah, that sounds good. That makes me happy. That's like where I'm just going, yeah, that sounds cool. And then also with people obviously saying, hey, that's pretty cool. I like that. That sounds good. That sounds good. And it's cool too that like people are like, it doesn't sound like anything that you're involved in. So it's interesting. You know what I mean? It's like when we weren't expecting that, and it's just like, cool. That's cool because like I listen to so many different styles of music and so many different musicians that it's like awesome, Hopefully I can be I can be inspiring to somebody too. That's like, you know what? I listen to that music too, but I also listen to this and that. And, I'm going to write some different kinds of things, It's like, cool. Do it. Be creative. Don't get pigeonholed into like anything. I feel like don't, you know?
Does the process get easier for you as you keep getting more involved in this? I imagine, there's the wonder of creating and doing this on your own. And then there's the wonder of doing it, right? You've got to start somewhere, and it could feel like a tall task because you've never done it before. But once you start doing it over and over again, it almost becomes like a machine.
It definitely does. That's why I was saying, if you just stay focused and don't let your mind like derail you too much, because it will. Obviously, we all get overwhelmed. But if we can just shed light on the fact that, okay, I'm just getting overwhelmed right now and I need to just focus on what I'm doing. And that other thing that I'm thinking about right now, I got to put that behind me right now. And I'll deal with that when I'm working on that part, or when I'm working on that, if I'm doing promotion or that. And it's just kind of being able to kind of just train yourself to do that and just stay the course, because obviously we all get frustrated no matter what the hell we're doing. Everything gets frustrating. But we all know, it's either, you're going to get overwhelmed and then mess everything up, or just try to, okay, I'm going to just take a breath, get my shit together here, and just keep going, and that's it. And that's all I try to do every day.
You've got the new single out this Friday, See No Evil. And then you've got other ones coming up after that. Outside of the new music, outside of the new songs, what else do you have going on?
Oh, man. That's pretty much it. That's all I've been doing every day, buddy. It's just been like full time, wake up in the morning and grind, But again, I say grind, but it's like I love doing it. You know what I mean? So I'm so grateful that I'm doing it. I'm so grateful I forced that I actually did it. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that I pushed myself to do it. I think for anybody, it's like, just, even if it scares the shit out of you, and I mean like doing something positive, like don't do anything that's not positive, meaning scare the shit out of you, like walk in front of a car or some shit. I'm talking about like, if you want to achieve things in your life, right? Just the only person stopping you is you. So if you want to do something, just do it. Don't let the fear stop you. And like the what if this and what if that and what if these people say this, and you know what I mean? It's like you gotta just like not give a shit and just go for it. And I think and you know what? You know what's an easy way to do it? Just think this. We're all gonna die anyway. I gotta be honest with you. I really gotta be honest with you. I think about that. That is like my motivation. Like, you know what? Who gives a shit anyway? Because we're all gonna die anyway. So you might as well just fucking try. And that works for me. I don't mean that in like a dark, dismal way either. I mean, like, it just kind of works. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, it goes with the no regrets.
Yeah.
Why hesitate and do it? Because someday when you do move on, do you want to say to yourself, man, I wish I would have made that album, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish whatever it is in any walk of life, we're all going to die. So you might as well try to do as much as you possibly can and have the fewest amount of regrets.
Totally. That's what I'm saying, man. And that's a good motivational thing right there too. Like when you're having like feeling overwhelmed or feeling nervous about things, it's like, nothing really to be nervous about. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like life is moving on and time's flying, and let's just fucking get this done. Let's do this. Let's try.
Jeff, it's been a blast talking with you, man. Thank you very much.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime. I'd love to come on the show.
Absolutely, man. The new single is great. All the information for Jeff will be in the show notes. So when you're listening and you're done, click on any one of those links to social media. It'll lead you to wherever you need to go in the Jeff Fabb world. And thank you again, man. I appreciate the conversation.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Once again, everyone, I'm Jay Scott. This has been another episode of The Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Take care of each other, stay safe, and we will talk soon. Thank you.